Okay, this is the process for removing a crank arm from the Peloton bike. That's the left crank arm. The first thing you need to do is have an 8mm hex wrench. Put it in the 8mm bolt. I've already loosened this. This comes off like this, and then just screw it out. The crank arm is pulled off using I use the Park Tool CCP 44 crank arm extractor. It has this longer mechanism than some other crank arm pullers. When you put it in, I had already pre-greased with some WD-40 the threads. It's important that you seat the threaded portion of the crank arm puller completely, so you'll need a wrench to screw it on all the way. If you don't, you could strip the threads of the crank itself. So make sure your extractor is retracted all the way, and then just start to spin it in. And I am going to loosen tension on the flywheel and get this positioned so I can get better leverage. And then start to twist it clockwise. It will be difficult. I had to initially stand on the arm, this arm of the puller, in order to get the crank arm to start to come off the first time. I've already pulled this crank arm off twice, so that's why it's so easy. I had pre-treated it with some WD-40 for about 8 hours on the first time, and it took a lot of muscle still to get it off. And that's it. It's pulled off. I'll go ahead and just loosen this. Maybe. What I do actually sometimes is put this back on, back this out in order to put it on a little bit. Just a little. You gotta be careful not to strip your Octolink bottom bracket mechanism, because if it slips off and you strip those teeth, you're in trouble. Your 10-minute job just became a 10-day job while you wait for that part to come back. So let's take this out, and we'll put in the new crank arm. So here's a new crank arm. All right. I am going to put a little bit of Park Tool grease on here. You can see a little bit of rust on that bottom bracket. Now it's important that you get this aligned with the opposite side correctly. So I put the right side crank arm down. So this is completely straight up. And I'm going to go ahead and just visually look. And it's on backwards. All right, so now I'm going to take my rubber mallet, because if you look, you see the space that's there is too much. So now with my mallet, close that gap. I'm going to go ahead and thread in that bolt. Hold that again for me. I'll put in the 8mm bolt, see if it reaches. If it's not hammered in enough, this bolt won't reach, and you won't be able to do that. And go ahead and tighten this. And this continues to further compress the crank arm onto the bottom bracket. And I'm not sure what the Newton meters are, so I'm going to stop right there. You can look it up and use a proper wrench to measure your torque, either pounds or whatever Newton meter you want to use, but use the proper torque wrench and you'll get it right. And that's it.